Welcome to the show. You're watching NJ Digital Television, and I'm Junaid Jahangir with the show Inside News with Junaid Jahangir. Tonight, here in the studios, in our Toronto studios, I have somebody very special. But before introducing him, I would tell you a bit about what is the reason that we wanted him to be with us for this topic, since you would be following him on Facebook or Twitter or in the Parliament of Canada, the House of Commons. He is one of the Member of Parliaments of Canada, and what is the reason behind is nothing else but cannabis, marijuana, the ganja, whatever you call it, whatever you name it. So my concern is, for some it could be funny though. For some it could be something very not really something to talk on, but for many it is really a concern. And it's the fact of reality is that where we are taking our generations towards nowhere. So this is the main reason that we invited him, Mr. Garnett. Genuis, thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you. It's great to be with you today.
Okay, thank you so very much. Same here. So yes, as I said, straight to the question. So as I said, the cannabis, the ganja, or whatever you name it, marijuana is. So this is one of the pledges of Mr. Justin Trudeau that he fulfilled. So where we are taking our generations towards, is it nowhere?
Yeah, well, from our perspective, from my perspective, we need to be aware of the risks and the dangers that are associated with marijuana and the way in which the government has moved forward with legalization. Many people I talk to are concerned about safety on the roads and safety on the job site that will result from impairment. We don't really have the same effective tools that we have for alcohol available for testing levels of impairment for when it comes to marijuana. Yes, you can have some of the product in your bloodstream, but that doesn't necessarily correlate with impairment because of the way marijuana acts in your body. You might have it in your bloodstream but not be impaired, or you might not have very much and still be impaired. So this raises some big questions with what kind of court challenges will happen if, in response to impairment charges. So these are big issues around enforcement.
But
and
this
what
is for the roadside safety. This is one of the issues, but there are lots more.
There are many more. Yeah. So there's
for the underage sale, for the misuse of this marijuana, and for the immigrants, especially those who are coming here with their kids of various ages or teenage. So they have to think twice maybe, but before this issue, it was their dreamland. But really, do you think that this could be an issue for the new immigrants?
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think certainly a lot of parents I talk to, especially in new Canadian communities, but in all communities, are concerned about the impact that this will have on children. The fact that the way they've written the law says that people are allowed to grow marijuana plants in their own homes, so it's something that is going to be happening in a lot of neighborhoods. Someone down the street might be growing marijuana. Their kids might have access to it. They might offer it to somebody else's kids. This is a real issue that by legalizing marijuana and allowing people to grow it in their own homes, also there is no criminal penalties for a teenager to be possessing marijuana under 5 grams. It is a criminal offense for an adult to give it to a teenager, but if a teenager is stopped and has marijuana with them, there's no criminal penalties, even if one teenager is giving it to another teenager in the neighborhood. So you can quickly see how this creates real risks, increased availability for people that even are technically not supposed to have it because of home grow, distribution, and things associated with that.
But this could be one of the justifications that since there is alcohol is here for nearby stores, or the tobacco is here, so is it that easy to justify that marijuana is now available in Canada everywhere nearby store?
Well, people make
To compare it with alcohol and to
Yeah.
compare it with tobacco, is it that easy to compare?
So people make the comparisons, but I would say it's important to underline marijuana is a different substance. It has been associated with higher rates of mental health challenges later on in life, and I think people frankly may not be as aware of the risks as they might be with something like tobacco. But the high, the impairment, as well as the risk of long-term health problems, the research all as well points to the onset of what you might call an amotivational state, that people who use a lot of marijuana, it impacts their level of engagement, their level of motivation, and these are things that are well established in medical science, and there doesn't mean there aren't risks associated with other substances, but why would we make matters worse by introducing marijuana? And the other point I'd make is that over the last 10 years, when the Conservatives were in power, we worked hard to have a public health approach that got information at their public health, as well as an involvement for enforcement. And through that kind of two-pronged strategy, there was a decline in marijuana use and people starting to use marijuana over that period. So that approach was working, but I fear that we'll see a big increase in use now.
But what if the Conservatives come again in power? So do you think that it would be null and void again, or this could be terminated, or this could be, you could do some legislation over it?
Well, we have another year from now until the next election. So it's going to be important for us, now that it has been legalized, as a consequence of the last election, to listen to Canadians, to observe the effects, and to see where we are a year from now. So there'd be a range of options on the table. We could tighten up the law to address specific problems. We might, for example, address the issue of people growing marijuana in their own homes. We might address the issue of the fact that there's no criminal penalties if one young person is handing it out to other young people.
But there are so many complications to make legislation over, or to get it in the laws framework for the young people or the young teenagers to penalize them or to fine them, or it would be another complication for maybe you or for the government.
Well, I mean, we have an approach when it comes to if any crime is committed by somebody that's under 18, they're treated in a different way than an adult. Well, and I think that's very appropriate, right? But when you allow the intervention of law enforcement, when there's a possibility of criminal penalty, it gives police some discretion to give that issue a level of seriousness that they just wouldn't have available to them if they didn't have that tool. So, right now, typically, somebody's not going to get charged and sent to prison. Well, even before legalization, people weren't very likely to go to prison for getting caught with marijuana. It was potentially a warning. It would be confiscated. And I favor having a ticketing option. I favored moving from the system of just criminalization to a ticketing option, because I think that would have, again, given the law enforcement the tools to treat situations appropriately.
And it wouldn't be on their record, on their criminal record, maybe.
Right, exactly.
That way. So they would have they should be afraid of it. So my question was, would you, if come in power, would you undo this legislature, the piece of legislation, the piece of law? Would you be, or just make some other things associated to it and won't undo this?
Well, we're gonna see where we are at the time of the next election. We're going to be consulting with people, and I think it's very possible that this experience, with just how poorly prepared we are, all the problems in the law, that it will be a real disaster, and that the public will be saying to us at that time, we need to reverse this law completely.
Would you?
But
would you be able to?
If we would be able to, but it would be a matter of looking at the situation at that point in time. At the same time, the public response might be something different.
Might be something different because a specific group of people who are benefited with this with this legislature. So they would be, maybe they would be against you, they would protest against you.
Well, there are also a lot of people that are working in it now as well. So there's a different dynamic is created. I mean, you can never fully stick the cat back in the bag. So when this is, but we're going to see what the experience looks like, and we're going to respond.
Is this simply one of the pledges of Mr. Trudeau that he fulfilled, or is it something that he is the man of his words, that he did this, or this is the preparation of the selection, the upcoming elections for Liberals, and for their position to that whatever they promised or they said, they just did it? Is it something, those issues? Because after this, I would come to one more immigration-related question that is more important. That the Conservatives were more strict on the immigration perspective when it comes to the new immigrants, when their days off within the land, their other things, But so the Liberals are a favorable party for those immigrants or the new immigrants, or this is a land of immigrants. So
we'll talk about the immigration thing in a minute. I just say about Justin Trudeau, I think we've seen a lot of broken promises already. So that he promised $10 billion deficits for 3 years and then a balanced budget. He broke that promise. We're not going to see a balanced budget according to their projections for decades. There's the issue of their promise to change the electoral system. They didn't deliver on that.
But he delivered on marijuana.
Well, he said he would legalize, and he legalized. But I think it's also responsible to listen to the information that's coming out in that process. It was an irresponsible promise to begin with, and I think it was about casting a certain image, wanting to look hip and different, but I think all the information that we've seen about the health risks, about the risks to young people, about the risks in terms of impairment on the road and in the job site, these were issues that the government never could provide a good answer for, and so maybe it's the one out of however many boxes in the platform. Many of those boxes are not going to be checked. So, but it was. But I would still say that this fundamentally was a failure for the government in that they were not able to show that they could do this in a safe way, and they've been criticized even by people that support legalization for saying this was too rushed, this was done in the wrong way. So you raise the issue of immigration, and I would say this about the debate we've had in the past, the debate we're going to have going forward is, Conservatives believe in a open, fair, rules-based immigration system, and that means that yes, we have raised concern about growing levels of illegal immigration, which isn't really a problem we've had in a big way in the past in Canada. We've talked about making sure that people that are coming here the right way can get here and are able to succeed once they get here. Whereas, unfortunately, you've seen practical mismanagement of the system under the Liberals, which is hurting people that want to come the right way. And it's also about positioning newcomers for success once they get here. I'll just give you an example of that in terms of refugees. We know that in the refugee system, privately sponsored refugees have much more success than government-sponsored refugees. Private-sponsored refugees are much more likely to find stable employment and not be on government assistance. And yet, the government has put all kinds of new roadblocks in the way of the success of private sponsors. So if Conservatives were in power, we would strengthen Canada's system of legal immigration, which would mean removing roadblocks for private sponsors, increasing the number of refugees that could come through private sponsorship, which would mean looking for new and innovative ways to ensure that those who have certain skills that match shortages in the Canadian labor market can come here as quickly as possible. That employers who are looking to hire people and can't find those workers locally can access, and certainly for people that are trying to bring family members, that there is a clear, fair, lawful. But we need to address this issue of illegal immigration.
There is a sub-question regarding this. I would just take a break, and then when we'll come back after a break, I'll ask him, Mr. Genuis, about is he referring to the Syrian refugees? If it is so how about the Carolian, the Indian refugees that he's been advocating in the parliament? So what about that? Just take a short break.
GT20 Canada, Universal Promotions, Eglinton and Carpet, Nanda Lawyers in association with Watan Kebab and Taza Chaiwala presents Rizwan and Muazzam Ali Khan.
कव्वाली एंड म्यूजिकल नाइट नुसरत फतेह अली खान साहब के भतीजे हकीकी अंदाज कव्वाली पेश करने आ रहे हैं आपके शहर टोरंटो में नवंबर 16।
November 16th, Friday, 7:30 p.m. at the Meeting House, Oakville. For more information, call Amir Shamsi, 416-662-7861 or 416-783-1141.
क्या आप जानते हैं कि मार्केट में दस्तयाब आम रेसिपी मसालों में क्या शामिल है? तो सुनिए, MSG, हाइड्रोलाइज्ड सोया प्रोटीन, आर्टिफिशियल कलर्स, ऑयल, शुगर और प्रिजर्वेटिव्स, ये सब हैं स्लो पॉइजन। मगर अब सेहत है आपके अपने हाथ में। खालिस कुदरती अज्जा से तैयार करदा हबीब रेसिपी मसालों की सूरत में, जिनसे बने खाने लज्जत के साथ है सेहत की जमानत। नो MSG एडेड, ग्लूटेन फ्री, यानी जिंदगी की खुशियाँ हबीब रेसिपी मसालों के साथ।
ट्रेंडी कूल है के गहने, गोल्ड हाउस, गोल्ड ज्वेलरी का है बेस्ट प्लेस। गोल्ड हाउस, प्योरिटी क्वालिटी भरोसे का ये नाम, गोल्ड हाउस ज्वेलर्स।
Now open biggest store of 22 and 24 karat gold jewelry in Malton. Gold House Jewelers.
New collection just arrived from Dubai, Pakistan and India. Call Shahid or Junaid.
905-672-0786.
Purity is guaranteed.
Gold House Jewelers.
This is the world of internet. You have everything on your computer and mobile screen. If you wish to promote your business through internet, especially to perfect target market, then you have just one reliable name, NJ Marketing, offering various marketing solutions like social media marketing, telemarketing, email marketing, search engine optimization, graphic designing, web designing and development, and mobile application development. So call now at 647-824-1485 or email at njmarketing15@gmail.com or log on to njmarketing.ca.
Oh, it's so light. I love it.
Unlocked Android phone. 2 SIM card slots for 2 numbers and travel needs. 13 megapixel camera with 1080 HD recording. 16 gigabyte internal memory, which is expandable for more photos, videos, and music. Over 250 stores to open by 2018. K Mobile.
Welcome back. In the studios here, we have with us Mr. Garnett Genuis. And as I asked him before the break, so how about you? Were you referring it to the Syrian refugees that they did it, that Trudeau promised and they accommodated them in Canada?
So we have refugees who come from all different parts of the world, and certainly coming out of the Syrian conflict, there were both publicly sponsored and privately sponsored refugees. When I was talking about the numbers, I mean, it's kind of looking at data going back over quite a long time, so even predating the Syrian conflict. And if you look at the success rate of refugees privately sponsored versus publicly sponsored, generally we see a greater level of success by private sponsorship, and that's, you can understand why that would be the case, right? Because if a person comes into a community, even if it's a community that isn't the same cultural background as them, but they're coming into a community of support, care, of assistance in that kind of process of adjusting to the culture. My church, for instance, is involved in refugee support, and just last Sunday at our service we had a refugee family that we had supported come and speak, and it's a really happy kind of positive experience for the whole congregation to be able to be part of that, and to be able to provide different kinds of kind of there's the physical support, but there's also the kind of intangible support of being part of a community. And when it comes to refugees, I think this private sponsor model works very well, and I would like to see the government do more to support private sponsors, to remove roadblocks, and to facilitate an increase in terms of that. It doesn't mean that government doesn't have a part to play. Government has an important part to play, but they should, as much as possible, be supporting instead of getting in the way.
Encourage the private. Okay, but there has been concerns over, because this is the taxpayers' money, and you cannot just give it away to the refugees. That you cannot spend it. So this has been a conservative's perspective, or the opposition's perspective.
Well, I mean, let me clarify that. I mean, our perspective is that there is a legitimate role for government to be involved in supporting vulnerable refugees,
and
absolutely. But the more we do that in partnership with the private sector, it's not about, it's all government or it's all, people being on their own. We believe that we should look for those things that government can do better, and those things that the private sector can do better. And oftentimes when it comes to helping people integrate and find their place in a community, government has a supporting role to play, but the front line work is best done by voluntary.
But in that supporting role, they still have to spend the taxpayers' money.
Absolutely.
So since we have a short of time, so I'll try to include as many things as possible. So one of the recent incidents that happened, it's been unfortunate though, and you wrote a letter to the Mr. Justin Trudeau regarding that to come up and join you in raising voice. He has been advocating against the violence of any sort, right? So against the women and the pro-life, the protest was happening, and somebody attacked on women. So it has been unfortunate. This is not something which is Canada. This doesn't represent Canada. And it's not. There is no space for violation. So what's been his response to you?
So we have been speaking out about this issue where a pro-life protesters, two pro-life protesters were violently attacked, and obviously that's not something we want to see happen in Canada or anywhere. It's not something that happens very often, but when there are instances of politically motivated violence, it's something that should be a source of concern. And I wrote an open letter to the Prime Minister. I spoke about the fact that that when there's politically motivated violence of this kind, I think the Prime Minister should be speaking out against it, even if he might not agree with the message that the protester was bringing in this case. And so far, we haven't seen any statements from the Prime Minister.
Have you had a chance to meet with Mr. Prime Minister informally or formally?
No, I mean, we haven't. There's a lot of MPs, and it's not usually kind of the protocol, but that we would meet sort of directly on it. And I haven't asked for a meeting with him. What I've done is I've asked that he address this issue publicly.
He might have.
Who knows, right?
Who knows? Okay. So this is. So how about the other things? Because marijuana has been a milestone. It could be a milestone for those who are advocating with this, right? Not against this. So the other milestone could be the prostitution, because this is I think the only thing left behind. The prostitution is not legal in Canada. This could be the other thing of concern, because this is left behind. What do you think on it?
Well, we are opposed to the legalization of prostitution. In the last government, there was a Supreme Court case involving prostitution that struck down the existing law, so that was something that we responded to, and we put in place a model that I think is very good and has been very successful in other countries. It's often called the Nordic model in the discussion around this, and that is to recognize that very often a person who's a prostitute really is a victim. They're not going out to commit a crime, they're a vulnerable person who someone is taking advantage of. So the law we have now does not prosecute that person. It instead focuses prosecution on pimps and on Johns, on the people that are victimizing those in that situation. And what that does is it makes it that much easier for people who are in this situation to come forward to law enforcement and seek help and seek protection. And it makes sure we have tools to combat things like human trafficking. Often when there's prostitution, there's people that are being trafficked that might be lacking awareness of their rights and lacking formal status, and we need to do more to try and combat that. In jurisdictions in Europe where we've seen legal prostitution, there's also been very high levels of human trafficking, people being brought in illegally who are being denied their rights and aren't aware of them. So this is something that we need to be aware of as part of the prostitution discussion. We oppose the legalization of prostitution. I can't recall offhand what the Liberals' position is on it. They haven't indicated any interest in moving ahead with legalizing it, but I think you're right to point out that in the minds of some Liberals, this might be the next step for them.
This might be the next milestone since the marijuana is done, and the only thing left behind is that maybe so many people could say them that they would encourage this step. Since in Europe there is a couple of countries, like Netherlands is one of the examples, and here in Canada, even though it is illegal, but illegally it is being operated. It is there. It's just at the corner of the street. So how about that? Even though it is illegal, as I said, the role of police and the law enforcement agencies, do you think that that's justifiable or not?
Well, I think at the end of the day, making something illegal doesn't mean it's going to disappear, right? That's true across the board of all kinds of crimes. And certainly with marijuana, you'll sometimes hear the argument from Liberal politicians, well, making it illegal didn't work because people still use it. Well, you could use that argument for any crime then. That doesn't mean we should make everything illegal. So the goal is to make sure that law enforcement have the tools and the ability and the support to do as much as they can, that we recognize that when it comes to combating violence, to combating crime, it's not just a law enforcement issue. There's a role for the community, for the family, for politicians, I think, in terms of setting a good example as well. It's the frustrating thing on marijuana is, I mean, we have a prime minister who has talked about using marijuana himself while he was a member of parliament. So we have a role not just as lawmakers, but also to set an example for the next generation.
He was, he just took that courage that he said. So many member of parliaments use it and they just don't say it out.
I don't know about so many. I mean,
so
there are
many?
Well, I think there's a lot of people who maybe have used it once in their life when they were younger,
but they haven't
right? But it's one thing to maybe have done that when you were young and less aware and less mature. Although, I mean, there are big risks associated with that, but at the same time, for somebody who has smoked marijuana while being in elected office at a time when it was illegal, and actually at a time when he was voting for tougher sentences for those that were using, I think there's a level of
there could be more
problem
responsibility for that,
Yeah.
for such a statement, and as being the member of parliament or the politician representing a party and being a son of a former prime minister. So these are the things. The very last thing, as you have been advocating about the minorities across the world. So what has been the latest agendas in such a scenario?
Yeah, so as the Deputy Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs, I do a lot of work around international human rights, and here in Canada we have, I think, not a perfect, but a generally very positive experience with integrating and supporting minorities, with emphasizing pluralism, and recognizing that we can be a community of communities. We can be a one national community that includes people with different faiths, different cultures, different backgrounds, and that we can be integrated and work well together, and we don't need to be afraid of those aspects of difference. And I think Canada can do more to promote and share that experience around the world, not in a kind of didactic, telling everybody what to do sort of way, but in a constructive, showing from our experience the benefits of that. And I think as well about some other countries around the world that have a long history of pluralism and maybe are struggling with that now. So I made a statement recently about the Asia Bibi case in Pakistan, for example, and both my wife's parents were born in Pakistan, and I know Pakistan does have a long history of pluralism, of people from different faith backgrounds living well together. Jenna spoke about the importance of recognizing the role of diversity. The Pakistani flag recognizes
the white
role
portion is for
of
minorities.
Of minorities, exactly. And I think this Asia Bibi case, it is so critical that this innocent woman is not punished really for the fact that she's a Christian, and there is an issue where minorities are vulnerable as a result of the way in which the blasphemy law is interpreted and administered. And I'm hopeful that we'll see reform to that blasphemy law, and that Ms. Bibi will be released as is just in her case.
Yeah, but so there should be. So no innocent should be punished.
Yes.
This is the universal truth.
Yes.
So this applies to anybody, whether it is ACBP, whether it is
Absolutely.
whoever, right? So other than that, since you have been you are a shadow deputy foreign minister, right? So how about Kashmir issue? How about Palestine? How about such regions? Even though we are shortage of time and you can speak over 100,000 words, but here we are shortage of time. So just to quickly review on that.
Yeah. So I, in terms of the detail, I know more about the Israel-Palestine question than I do about Kashmir.
And you can speak 100,000 words.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I'll just focus on the.
And I would encourage you to go to House of Commons and then speak on that too.
Thank you. Yeah. So but on the issue, so I have traveled to Israel on a trip in partnership with the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs. I've also traveled to the West Bank on a trip that was organized by the Canada-Palestine Parliamentary Friendship Group. So and I had the opportunity to meet President Abbas as well as the Palestinian Foreign Minister on that trip. So I've appreciated the opportunity to dig into the issue. I think that what is important is that we work towards a two-state solution. The Jewish people, the Palestinian people, both have a history and a connection with that land, and this is something that we see in a lot of places around the world, where different people groups do have a legitimate history and connection with the same piece of land, and that's a difficult situation to adjudicate, and it requires compromise. It also requires working together for peaceful coexistence and understanding. Look, there's no magical solution on intractable conflicts like that, but I think Canada can play a constructive role trying to facilitate dialogue and promote the kinds of peaceful coexistence and dialogue that help to lead to peace.
Of course, whether it is the issue of Palestine or the issue of Kashmir, there should be dialogue on it, and Canada has the role because it is one of the greatest land on earth. Right?
Look, these are obviously not questions that I can give you a quick and easy solution to, right? But I think, in the case of just my observations on the ground with the Israel-Palestine question in particular, I think recognizing the legitimacy of each side's history and connection to the area is important. It was frustrating to me, for example, to see some instances on the Palestinian side where there was the language implied that there had been no Jewish history or presence in the area, which is just clearly not true, right?
Right, of course.
But there's also
there should be coexistence, as we said, right? And so is in Kashmir. So I apologize that we have a short of time and you have a flight too. to, of course. So
I'll come back and we'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, sure. So
Great.
take a break here. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much
Yeah.
for your time. So yes, we were speaking with one of the Member of Parliaments, Mr. Garnett Genuis. It's been my pleasure, our pleasure. So thank you for watching NJ Digital Television.
हमने अपनी कामयाबी से बढ़कर जीता है अपनी कम्युनिटी का एतमाद और भरोसा वाजिद मलिक एंड टीम A team of top-of-the-line real estate and financial advisors in GTA. From commercial to residential, यानी आपके पहले घर से कामयाबी के इंतहा तक हर कदम आपके साथ वाजिद मलिक एंड एहसान वली. Call now 416-827-3333 or visit wajidmalik.com.
An exclusive multi-designer studio specialized in wedding planning services, bridal wear, casual party wear, jewelry, shoes, purses, dupattas, men's and kids' clothes. You name it, we have it. Some of the Pakistani designer labels we carry are Sani-K, Avanur, Sana Safinas, Anas Abrar, Zainab Shutani, Wahaj Khan, Fatma Khan and many more. Parahan, sheer elegance. We believe in quality service and best price.
You can contact 9075 Derry Road West, Unit Number 1, Milton, Ontario.
रंग वाली भरम वाली न्यूज वाले व्यूज वाले भेल वाले मेल वाले कराची वाले खैबर वाले लाहौर वाले पिंडी वाले इन शॉट पूरे पाकिस्तान वाले चिली मिली की हमत वाले कैंडीलैंड चिली मिली.
मैं हूं जहांगीर खान, स्क्वाश कोर्ट का चैंपियन, लेकिन रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट का चैंपियन मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन. मुझे उन पर यकीन है, आप भी करके देखिए.
जहांगीर खान और हजारों क्लाइंट्स का चहेता मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन. रेजिडेंशियल प्रॉपर्टीज और इन्वेस्टमेंट्स दोनों के लिए ही सही मशवरा, सही फैसला. मकान जिसे आप अपना घर कहने में फख्र महसूस करेंगे. मोहम्मद कामरान हुसैन 4163185264.
Are you sure about it? Let's do it then.
The family law lawyers at Alam Law Chambers will be with you during your stressful divorce and custody battle so that the best possible result can be found for you and your children. Reliable and affordable. Alam Law.
GT20 Canada, Universal Promotions, Eglinton and Carpet, Nanda Lawyers in association with Watan Kebab and Taza Chaiwala presents Rizwan and Muazzam Ali Khan.
कव्वाली एंड म्यूजिकल नाइट नुसरत फतेह अली खान साहब के भतीजे हकीकी अंदाज कव्वाली पेश करने आ रहे हैं आपके शहर टोरंटो में नवंबर 16.
November 16th, Friday, 7:30 p.m. at the Meeting House, Oakville. For more information, call Amir Shamsi 416-662-7861 or 416-783-1141.